The day started like any other, with the soft hum of the alarm ringing through the house. Max had never suspected anything was wrong. He trusted his wife, Natalie, with all his heart. They had been together for nearly 8 years, their love growing deeper with every year that passed. But that was all about to change with a single phone call. Max was at work, buried in his usual routine, when his phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. It simply read, "I need to talk to you. It's urgent, curiosity piqued." He called the number back. A woman's voice answered, one that sounded familiar, but Max couldn't place it. "Who is this?" he asked, feeling a strange unease settle in his stomach. "You don't know me, but I know your wife, Natalie," the voice replied. "I've been trying to reach you, but she won't answer. I think you need to hear the truth. She's been seeing someone else." Max's heart skipped a beat. He could feel the blood rushing to his head, his palms suddenly clammy. "What are you talking about? Who is this?" "I'm sorry, but I've been in a relationship with your wife for the past few months. I never wanted to hurt you, but I think you deserve to know what's going on. Natalie has been cheating on you, Max." Max stumbled back in his chair, his mind racing. He couldn't wrap his head around what he was hearing. His wife, the woman he loved, the one he had shared his life with, had been betraying him all along. He demanded more details, but the woman refused to give her identity, only confirming that Natalie had been sneaking around behind his back. He sat there, stunned, his world crashing around him. His thoughts swirled, and every memory of their time together became clouded with doubt. He thought about their quiet dinners, their vacations, the laughter and love they shared. Had it all been a lie? Max ended the call, his hands shaking. For a moment, he considered confronting Natalie immediately, but he knew it wouldn't help to rush in blind with anger. He needed proof. He needed to understand the truth for himself. That night, when Natalie came home, everything felt different. She greeted him with a kiss, but it was cold, distant. Her eyes seemed to avoid his, and the silence between them was thick, suffocating. Max couldn't hold back anymore. He sat her down and asked her point-blank if what the woman had told him was true. Natalie's face went pale, and she couldn't meet his gaze. She had been caught. Tears filled her eyes as she confessed. She had been seeing another man for months, someone from her work who had become more than just a colleague. She explained how she had fallen out of love with Max, blaming it on the growing distance between them, the routine of life, the missed opportunities for connection. But hearing it from her felt like a punch in the gut. Max listened to her tearful explanation, each word from her only deepening the betrayal he felt. His wife's infidelity had shattered the trust they had built over the years. He realized in that moment that their marriage had been a facade, held together by his blind faith in her. The next few days were a blur. Max moved out of the house, unable to look at the woman who had broken his heart. He stayed with a friend, trying to make sense of everything. The betrayal had changed him. He knew he couldn't forgive her, not now, not ever. The call, the one that had shattered his world, had ended everything. It had taken away the life he thought he knew, replacing it with an emptiness that would take years to heal. In the end, Max filed for divorce, choosing to rebuild his life from the rubble of what had once been. It would be a long journey, but he knew one thing for sure. He would never allow someone's betrayal to define him again. As the days turned into weeks, Max tried to find some semblance of peace amidst the chaos. He had spent his time with close friends, surrounded by people who understood his pain, yet the hole in his heart remained. His mind replayed every moment with Natalie, trying to find any signs he might have missed, any clue that would have pointed to her infidelity. But no, it seemed as though she had played her part flawlessly, hiding her deceit behind a smile and kind words. While the divorce proceedings were underway, Max threw himself into his work, hoping that the distractions would help numb the emotional pain. But at night, when he was alone in his apartment, the weight of everything would hit him all over again. He found himself looking at his phone, scrolling through old pictures of the two of them, wondering how someone could betray a love so deep. Meanwhile, Natalie reached out to him multiple times, leaving messages filled with remorse and apologies. She begged him to meet to talk, to give their marriage another chance. She claimed that her affair was a momentary lapse in judgment, something she regretted deeply. But Max was resolute. He had once believed in second chances, but not after such a profound betrayal. The trust had been irreparably broken, and he could never look at her the same way again. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, Max found himself at a bar, nursing a glass of whiskey. The place was nearly empty, the low hum of jazz music providing a melancholic backdrop. As he stared into the glass, lost in thought, his phone buzzed again. It was a message from Natalie. She had sent him a photo, a picture of the two of them, taken years ago, on a vacation they had taken together, smiling and carefree. Max felt a pang in his chest, the memory of happier times suddenly flooding back. He stared at the picture for a long time, his fingers trembling as he typed a response. He told her it was too late, that he had already made peace with the fact that their relationship was over. Her betrayal was something he could never forget or forgive, and as much as it hurt, he had to move on. The next few months were a process of healing for Max. He kept to himself, focused on his personal growth, and began to rediscover his passions that had been buried under the weight of his marriage. He took up painting again, something he had loved but abandoned years ago. He started working out regularly, taking long walks in the park to clear his mind. Slowly, the pieces of his shattered world started to come together, though he was forever changed. Then one evening, as he was cleaning out some old things, Max came across a letter from Natalie. It was one she had written to him before everything had fallen apart, a letter she had never sent. In it, she poured her heart out, confessing her feelings of loneliness and her fear of losing herself in the routine of their marriage. She had written about how she had tried to reach out to him, but felt he was too focused on his work, too distant to truly understand her. The affair, she said, had been an escape, a way to feel alive again. Max sat there, reading the letter over and over. It wasn't an excuse for what she had done, but it provided some clarity. He realized that in their marriage, they had both been lost in their own worlds. While he had been busy providing and working, Natalie had felt neglected and abandoned, unable to express her pain. Still, the affair was her choice, and no explanation could erase the betrayal. Months passed, and life slowly began to feel normal again. Max met new people, made new friends, and even started dating again. Though the scars of his past were still there, they no longer defined him. He had learned to trust again, but not without being cautious. He had to rebuild his confidence, piece by piece. One day, Max ran into Natalie at a coffee shop. She looked different, distant, older, but still the same woman he had once loved. They exchanged a brief, awkward greeting. She apologized once more for what she had done, her eyes filled with regret. But Max had come to terms with it. He had forgiven her, not because she deserved it, but because he needed to free himself from the weight of bitterness. "I hope you're happy, Max," Natalie said quietly, her voice filled with sorrow. Max smiled, though it was bittersweet. "I'm getting there," he said, before turning to leave. He didn't need to explain further. The pain had faded, and in its place was the beginning of a new chapter, one where he could finally move forward without the shadow of betrayal hanging over him. And so, life went on. Max didn't look back anymore, knowing that sometimes it takes losing everything to find out who you truly are. It was painful, it was unfair, but in the end, it was what he needed to rediscover himself. One call had changed everything, but it also set him on the path to healing, a path that, though difficult, would eventually lead to the peace he deserved. As Max continued on his journey of healing, he found himself becoming more attuned to the needs of his own soul. He spent time cultivating his interests, painting, traveling, and reconnecting with friends and family that had once been sidelined in the rush of his past life. Slowly, the emotional scars from his marriage began to fade, though they would never fully disappear. They had become part of who he was, shaping him into someone wiser, more cautious, but also more capable of love and trust. It was a sunny afternoon several months later when Max attended a gallery opening for a local artist. The space was warm and filled with people, soft murmurs blending with the click of glasses and the shuffle of feet. He was admiring a painting when someone unexpectedly tapped him on the shoulder. Turning around, he found himself face to face with a woman he hadn't seen in years, Maya, a former colleague he had always shared a friendly rapport with but never anything more. Maya's eyes lit up as she recognized him, her smile wide and welcoming. "Max! It's been ages," she exclaimed. "How have you been?" Max couldn't help but smile back, feeling an odd sense of nostalgia mixed with warmth. "I've been good. Really good, actually. It's been a crazy few years, but I'm finally finding some peace." They chatted for a while about their lives, catching up on what had happened since they last spoke. As they talked, Max realized how comfortable and easy it felt to be around Maya. There was no pressure, no expectation, just two people reconnecting over shared experiences and mutual respect. Over the next few weeks, Max found himself spending more time with Maya. She was kind, intelligent, and had a quiet strength that appealed to him. The more they talked, the more he found himself drawn to her. Not out of desperation, but because she seemed to understand him in a way that few people ever had. Maya had her own story of heartbreak and loss, and though they hadn't experienced the same kind of betrayal Max had, she understood the complexities of love and the difficulty of moving on from the past. One evening, after dinner at a cozy restaurant, Maya took a deep breath and looked at Max with a kind, steady gaze. "I know you've been through a lot, Max," she said softly, "and I'm not asking for anything from you, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm here for you. If you ever want to talk, or even if you just want someone to sit with in silence, I'm here." Max felt a wave of emotion rush over him, the walls he had so carefully built around his heart starting to crack. He hadn't realized how much he had longed for someone who could see him for who he was, broken pieces and all, and still offer their companionship without judgment. "Thank you, Maya," he replied, his voice thick with gratitude. "I never realized how much I needed to hear that until now." As the days went by, Max slowly allowed himself to open up to the idea of love again. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when the memories of his past would resurface, reminding him of the pain he had once endured. But with Maya, he found a kind of peace he hadn't expected. She wasn't trying to replace Natalie, nor was she pushing him to forget the past. She simply accepted him as he was and made him feel worthy of love again. Months later, as the seasons changed, Max found himself standing in a park, watching the sunset with Maya. The air was crisp, and the sky was painted with hues of orange and pink. Maya took his hand in hers, and for the first time in a long time, Max felt something he had thought he might never feel again. Hope. "Do you ever think about what's next?" Maya asked, her voice soft and uncertain. Max thought for a moment, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "I used to be afraid of what the future would look like. After everything with Natalie, I didn't know if I could trust again. But now, I think I'm ready. I'm ready to see where this goes." Maya smiled, squeezing his hand gently. "Me too," she said. And in that moment, Max realized how far he had come. The betrayal he had suffered, the pain of losing the life he thought he would have, had led him here, into a place where he could finally open himself up to the possibility of a new beginning. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be without its challenges, but for the first time in a long time, he wasn't afraid to face them. One call had changed everything, and in the end, that call had freed him, not just from the lies of his past, but also from the fear of embracing a future that was waiting for him. And with Maya by his side, Max understood that sometimes the hardest losses are the ones that make room for the greatest gains.